Greetings everyone, what is up? Evan here, back again. Today I'm going to be bringing you a $350 gaming PC computer build. I believe this is the third time that I've actually done a computer build at this price point. I did one back in July of 2015, I believe. I did one a couple months ago, and now I'm bringing it to you again. Each time this build has varied and been different each time I've built it, and last time I believe I built it based upon the new Skylake architecture. Before that I believe I went with one of the older Haswell refresh i3s, but this, I believe, right now, is one of the best price-to-performance combinations you can get right now for a gaming PC. I'm not talking the newest, latest, and greatest of technology. I'm talking solid performance per dollar. Literally the highest benchmark, so to speak, that you can get for your money, without buying, of course, used parts or overstock parts or that sort of thing. So I'm going to get right into the components here. To start off, we've got the AMD Athlon x4 860K 3.7 GHz quad-core processor. This is a fantastic little CPU for a whopping $72. In my personal rig, which I'm using and talking to you on right now, I use the Athlon x4 760K, which is the previous generation, or the previous installment, so to speak, of the Athlon x4K series. Mine is an FM2 CPU. This is an FM2 Plus CPU. They came out about a year and a half apart. But if you have seen any of my gaming videos, or really any of my videos that are not gaming PC builds, this is actually the CPU that Talon or Sengo utilizes in his personal rig. I actually recommended it to him, but it's very comparable to the 760K, which I have in my gaming PC build, and I have not found a game yet that I cannot play. AAA titles all the way up to Grand Theft Auto 5, more CPU-intensive games such as Minecraft, which is actually very CPU-intensive due to the fact it runs off of Java, and games even like Civilization 5, Borderlands the pre-sequel. All these games I've been able to run with relatively no problem. I do struggle with super intensive tasks like 1080p HD rendering and that sort of thing. That's where the CPU, I would say, really doesn't shine, and really a hyper-threaded CPU or a CPU with higher single-core performance would really beat it out. But for $72, you're not going to get the performance you would expect of an i5 or even an i3, although this comes quite close in multi-threaded applications to beating some of the older i3s. And really, overall, it's a great CPU for the money. In terms of benchmarks goes, it's right up there as one of the best current generation price performance processors that you can get right now. Moving on, for the motherboard, I decided to go with the ASRock FM2 DG3 Plus Micro ATX motherboard. You can go ahead and visit the Newegg page here and take a look at some of the specifications stuff. Nothing terribly special about this motherboard. As you can see, it's got a 4 out of 5 rating. I checked some of the lower ratings, and those are just from people that, honestly, in my opinion, did not know what they were ordering. Unfortunately, that seems to be a major problem with online reviews. You always have to take a negative review with a grain of salt, because a lot of times people order something, they don't realize they got the wrong thing, or they get a DOA, which happens all the time in a manufacturing process anyway, and they just rate it a 1-star, don't contact the manufacturer, and that's it. Some of the best reviews online, this is kind of like getting a little off topic, but some of the best reviews that you can look at online are the people that rate it between 3 and 4 stars. The people that give an honest review, the people that look at all the pros and cons of the board and kind of decide, you know, did it work? Did it not work? Did some features not work? Is it giving it a 1-star because one of the USB ports didn't work? That's kind of just the whole thing. Newegg is a very flaky with that sort of thing. But here we have the motherboard right here. It's a Micro ATX board. As you can see, it has 2 PCI slots, 2 RAM slots. It supports rear I/O panel USB 3.0. Looks like you have a total of 6 USB ports. Standard PS2 connector, some Ethernet and audio jacks. Take a look right here. Some of the more detailed, I suppose. See PCI Express 3.0, PCI Express x1, PCI, power connector, obviously, 4-pin CPU power. SATA 6 is supported, and it's really very basic board, but at a $350 build, that's all you can really expect to get is, you know, the basics. But it does include some decent expansion ports. A lot of these cheaper boards will, believe it or not, feature just one PCI Express 3.0 slot, 1x1 slot, and that is it. So the fact that you have this extra PCI slot to maybe put in a Wi-Fi card or put in, maybe some extra USB ports in the rear panel. That's a great expansion. 4 SATA 6 connectors, and you have rear panel USB 3.0, as I believe I mentioned earlier. Newegg is going to be kind of crappy with that. See if we can get this to load. There we go. Rear panel USB 3.0. So really all the frills you're going to need are going to expect out of a board for a whopping $45. Alright, moving on from the motherboard. For memory, we have 8 gigs, 2 times 4 GB of DDR3 1600 memory from ADATA. Nothing terribly special with this memory, as it runs at a very standard DDR3 1600 memory. It'd be nice to get DDR4 into these builds, but unfortunately I don't believe there's anybody that actually supports DDR4 on these chipsets, or for the AMD CPUs at all. At least I haven't really run into any. The difference between DDR3 and DDR4 right now is minimal. There's really not a whole lot of difference in terms of performance. We might see that come more into play in later years, but right now, everything is really designed for DDR3, and DDR4 shows little to no performance gain in just about anything. And some super intensive compression tasks, occasionally that extra, 400 or 500 megahertz clock speed increase might help somewhat, but really, in normal usage, you're going to notice next to nothing in terms of differing performance. But, of course, DDR4, always nice to have. It actually uses less wattage as well. For storage, we've got a Toshiba 1 terabyte, 3.5 inch, 7200 RPM internal hard drive. Nothing terribly special about this. It's just one of the cheapest 1 terabyte drives that you can find right now. Notice there's been a little bit of an increase in price in hard drives right now. You used to be able to get one for around $38 to $40. Now they're up to about $45. I'm sure that's kind of just a variance in the market right now, but normally Hitachi is the cheapest. This is the Toshiba drive. I'm not sure about the reliability. The reviews seem alright, but then again, I haven't really looked into the drive itself. But for the price, about the cheapest you can get right now. Of course, you can always go ahead online into Amazon and order a used part. That's your sort of thing. You can get it for, $10 cheaper, but I don't tend to trust used hard drives. They tend to be kind of loud, and they've kind of lived their life before people tear them out of their systems and resell them online. So hard drives are something that I would not recommend that you buy used. And if you do, always make sure it comes with some sort of warranty. For a video card, we are going to be going with the XFX Radeon R7 360 2GB Core Edition video card. Now, for new parts, which is what I always try to stick with for these gaming PC builds, yes, I know you can get a 660 Ti or an older 750 Ti for $89 as opposed to $100, but I like to, in my gaming PC build, go with a new part and a new parts list because I know it'll be consistent, and then everybody, at least across the country of the United States, can buy these parts when I recommend them. Over time, prices are going to fluctuate, the builds become outdated, I'm aware of that. But the best thing for me to recommend a parts list, in my opinion, right now, is to go ahead and go with all new parts from respected or at least national manufacturers and resellers, because I know it'll be consistent, the prices will be consistent, and that people can buy these parts and won't have to worry about finding a local deal or finding something that might go out of stock or that sort of thing. You can probably build this PC for $250 to $300 if you went with all used components, shopped around on Craigslist, Amazon, EVGA, B-Stock, and those sort of websites. And that's totally fine. Go for it, in my opinion. However, for the sake of the video and for the sake of what I'm doing here right now, I go with new parts because they feature warranties, you can RMA them, you're not going to be screwed over if they don't work. They haven't been, used for Bitcoin mining or Litecoin mining or TETS gaming. They haven't, seen their lifespan or just being sold now. And overall, it's just easier to go with parts that are new on the market right now. So, the R7 360 is a great little video card. It comes in at about $100 to $110. This is about $100 from SuperBiz or $103 from Newegg. And the main GPU contender in this class is the NVIDIA GTX 750 Ti. That's actually the graphics card that Talon uses in his build as well, as I mentioned before. If you don't know who Talon is, that means absolutely nothing, but he's been in a lot of my gaming videos. Go check them out. He's always there. But this is one of the better video cards in this price point, in my opinion. The 750 Ti comes in at a lower wattage. It comes in about, I believe, 65 watts, while I believe this is 100 watts. Yep, about 100 watts TDP. But the 750 Ti came out in about February of 2015. Well, this came out in June. and overall it's just an older video card, it's an older architecture, and the price to performance of the 750 Ti is a bit less. In fact, for the best GPUs of 2016, as advertised by Tom's Hardware, I've been using this reference more and more in my gaming PC builds. They actually, if you scroll down here, they recommend the AMD Radeon R7 360 for their maxed out version of 720p. So basically, you're going to be able to max out games or come close to maxing out AAA titles at the 720p resolution. 1080p, you'll probably be able to run on medium to medium low settings, which is also quite respectable for a $100 card. If you want to go with the 750 Ti because you like the idea of the fact that it runs cooler, it uses less wattage, and you get the NVIDIA GeForce experience with its, you can record your gameplay and benchmark it, and you have your overclocking abilities all wrapped into one thing, go for it. The difference is honestly minimal, and you're not going to notice any massive price points if you decide to go with the 750 Ti for this build anyway. That's just my opinion. I'd rather go with the 360 for a bit more raw performance and the extra 5 to 10 FPS than I would the frills of the GeForce experience, but if you're into NVIDIA, by all means. For a case, we've got a Cooler Master Elite 342 Black Micro ATX Mini Tower case with a 400 watt power supply. I normally don't like to have a power supply included in the case because they tend to be cheap, they tend to not work as well and that sort of thing, but when you're going for a price to performance and you're going for a $350 gaming PC build, there aren't a whole lot of options you can go with. You could go for an 80 plus certified 1999 EVGA 400 watt and super cheap case, but at the end of the day, you're going to be going with a power supply that is, of course, a $20 power supply and a super cheap case where you could spend $50, get it already integrated, and by looking at some of the reviews here, it seems to be a fairly solid case. The reviews don't actually show up on Newegg. This is just for the photos. The reviews are actually on Amazon, but it seemed to have like a 4.8 out of 5 stars. And you can cross-reference that all you want. Or if you have a tower sitting in front of you right now, odds are you can probably build this PC right inside of that. Honestly, almost any sort of computer tower you can fit a micro ATX board into, unless it's proprietary, which you should probably look up anyway, or you have a 300 watt El Cheapo Walmart power supply, you're going to want to swap out the power supply. But in my opinion, if you're going to not be using the PC that you're on right now and you're not on a laptop, you're actually on a desktop system, go ahead and cannibalize it. Take the hard drive. You might even be able to take the DDR3 memory and take the case, and you can save yourself anywhere from $40 to $60. By all means, go for it. I did that with my last PC that I had. I reused the hard drive, which was like 640 gigs. I reused the power supply. I reused the optical drive, and I managed to save myself some money. I managed to build myself about a $450 PC for about $330. So it's always great when you can actually utilize parts that you already have and you might not even be thinking about. This is the case right here. It features a 400 watt power supply specified before. It has, as you can see, it has room for some decent airflow. Got a 400 watt power supply. I believe it supports PCIe and all that other great stuff. I believe that's a Cooler Master case, Cooler Master power supply, excuse me. So they're using their own stuff. And really, it's a great, decent little case for the money. It doesn't look terrible. Got a nice 2 bays here for optical drives, a 3.85-inch drive, 2 USB 2.0 in front, nice power connector. Seems like you have some decent cooling. Got a nice 120 millimeter, it looks like, front panel fan. And overall, it's just a decent, solid case, in my opinion. If you don't like the look of that case, by all means, buy whatever you want. Cases are probably one of the most opinionated pieces on a board. Really, you can hate the look of that case. Maybe you want something with some blue LEDs. Maybe you want to use your own case. Go ahead. That's just one of the cases that I thought would be a decent case to use for price to performance and being solid and having all the necessary frills that you would expect from a $350 gaming PC build. So, in total, our build came to $348.84. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this gaming PC build. This is probably the price point that I've covered the most. And, yeah, I'd like to hear your opinions. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.